So still the Varna system has not been fully developed. So the people, all the individual does the function of a king as well as a Rishi. So it's something like a Rajarshi. Like later on, the word Rajarshi is not there in the Ṛgveda, but later on, such kings who performed both as a king and an ascetic, they were named as Rajarshi. Because in the late Ṛgvedic period, the distinction of profession become very clear. The king becomes king always. His sons, all the sons of the king become kings or kshatriyas as warriors, and they don't do any kind of tapa. They cannot do a ascetic activity. But very few kings did that, and they were called Rajarshi. But in the ancient period, in the early and middle Ṛgvedic period, that is a very early period of the Ṛgveda and the middle period of Ṛgveda, the Varna system was not there. That is why these people are both a Raja as well as a Rishi. Swachamala and Supotra, very good example. And then you have, this is a more or less considered as a different lineage, that is Dirghatamas, Pakshivat, and then their business Methaditi, Praskarnua, etc. And there are so many of them in the 8th mandala. This many like Sodhari, Priyametha, Andrimetha, Hiranyastupa is another Angirasa, Hiranyastupa, Angirasa. And then Kushika, Sindukshit, Shakaputa, and Sadri, Bosha. This you please memorize this Sindukshit, because Sindukshit Priyametha is a very, very important for our analysis of the rivers. Because in the Ṛgveda there are around 40 plus river names are mentioned, and unique rivers, because some rivers have multiple names. So because of that, around 30 plus rivers are mentioned in the Ṛgveda, unique rivers. Out of which 21 rivers the Sindukshit Priyametha has mentioned in a single sukta called Nadi Sukta. So that is why he is a very special for us. So Sindukshit is like a composer in the 10th mandala in this lineage, that is the Angirasa lineage, and he is more or less like a geographer of the Ṛgveda, because he has single-handedly with a single sukta, the Nadi Sukta, given the names of 21 rivers. Out of 30 or 40 rivers, he has given the majority, more than the half of the rivers he has mentioned. That is the importance of this particular individual. So that is one thing. So here, if anybody having an interest in like memorizing of this lineage, the most important rishis are like this Vishwamitra. They are very famous, like Bharadwaja, Vishwamitra, Jamadagni. This Rama Jamadagnya, not the Dasharatha Rama, but Rama Jamadagnya, that is Parashurama. I mean, of course, we cannot call the earlier Ṛgvedic Rama Jamadagnya as Parashurama, because Parashurama is very clearly the late 10th mandala. So I just ignore that. So this is purely Rama Jamadagnya. Jamadagni, Vishwamitra, Vasishta, Agastya, Kashyapa, Gautama, Dirghatamas. All these people are very famous Ṛgvedic composers. And in the 10th mandala, we have to very clearly memorize this Sindukshit Priyametha, who is a geographer, and as far as, because our book is on the rivers of Ṛgveda, and he is the most important individual as a kind of a person who knows 21 rivers out of 30 to 40 rivers in the Ṛgveda. So this Sindukshit becomes a very important person for us, for our study. And then let us move to here. This is another way. This is another important structured way to recognize the Ṛgveda as like a kind of a collection of suttas, preserved by a few gotras. So you have something called the Apri Sutta, which is like a special sutta for each gotra actually. The poetic family, this is a gotra actually. So we have this sutta number 1.13. 113, that is the first mandala 13th sutta. This is for the Kanva family. And another first mandala sutta for the Angirasa family, that is the Angirasa group of poets. And there's another first mandala sutta for Agasthyas, and the second mandala for the Gritsamada. So I mentioned about a rishi who switched from Angirasa to Bhrigu lineage, that is Gritsamada. So here the second mandala is dominated by the Gritsamada, and he has got the Apri Sutta, that is for the Gritsamadas here. Then third mandala you know very well. Third mandala is Vishwamitra's mandala. So with Vishwamitra, Vishwamitra Gathina, that is the Gadi's son Vishwamitra is the composer of this Apri Sutta. And then Atri I have mentioned, I think if you remember, Atri I have mentioned, fifth mandala is dominated by the Atris. So we have one of the Atri, that is Vashishruta Atreya, as a composer of the 5.5, that is 5.5, the fifth mandala Sutta, Apri Sutta. And then we have Vasishta Maitravaruni, that is Vasishta, that is the seventh mandala we know that dominated by Vasishta. So we have Vasishta, that's a Apri Sutta. So now these seven suttas, like if you're not able to understand what is Apri Sutta, just understand this is a special sutta which have repeated mantras. So all these suttas, some of the rigs, some of the sloka, some of the lines, stanzas look similar. That means they have a kind of a significance, a religious significance, and it's a pattern basically. And each of the Gotra, they focus, or they have given a lot of importance to these suttas. And during their rituals, the Apri Sutta is recited by each Gotra, poetic family. And so this sutta, each Apri Sutta that is dedicated to a poetic family or Gotra, that is very considered very sacred and important for that particular family. And they are mentioned, so you not have to memorize any of these numbers, but just make sure to know that there are 7 Apri Suttas, and they are all dedicated to certain Gotras like Kanwa, Angirasa, Agastya, Gritsamada, Vishwamitra, Atri, and Vasishta. So these families have got these Apri Suttas. There is another Apri Sutta which is dedicated to the Bharatas, which I have not mentioned here. So Bharata, even the royal family have an Apri Sutta of their own. So that's what all about this particular table. And in today, so today we are I'm just concluding with this because I don't want to overload you with a lot more information. But this is the gist of the composer family. We have, if I summarize, we have a pre-Ṛgvedic, that is pre-Ṛgvedic composers, or pre-Ṛgvedic, the best word will be pre-Ṛgvedic rishis, because they are not composers, because they are older than the 6th mandala. So we have pre-Ṛgvedic rishis, and mostly the Angirasa and the Bhrigu family rishis. And mostly the names are all clouded. Everybody known in the as an Angirasa or as a Bhrigu, but very few like Datyang or Usana's Kavya among the Bhrigus are distinguished with their names. Otherwise, they are all called Bhrigus, or in case of Angirasa also it's the same thing. You have Rubhu and such individuals, but otherwise they are all all together actually. And these ancient rishis mostly are associated with Indra, and they are considered as semi-divine beings, something similar to the divine singers singers singing in praise of Indra, like that. And later on, from the 6th mandala onwards, the period onwards, you have composers contributing suttas to the Ṛgveda, like Bharadwaja in the 6th mandala, and then Vishwamitra in the 3rd mandala, Vasishta in the 7th mandala, etc. Then this Gautamas. So Gautamas in the 4th mandala, Gritsamada in the 2nd mandala, like that. Certain rishis contributing to different suttas in different mandalas. Atri contributing to the 5th mandala, etc. And we have Kashyapa, Agastya, and all these rishis. Some of these Rishi Gotras, they have their own dedicated Apri Suttas. So the Aprisuktas, I said there is some speciality. So speciality is basically each of these Aprisukta have some kind of praise. They praise Saraswati, Ila, and Bharati, three goddesses. So I think this is also important, I would say. Most people consider Rigveda as something unrelated to goddess worship. We say Shakteyas are primarily worshipping the goddess. And Rigveda is completely a male-dominated thing. With they have male gods. It's absolutely not true. Because I said like the central part of the Rigveda, when it is used in a ritual format, Aprisuktas are very important. And in Aprisuktas, three goddesses are the most important goddesses. That is Saraswati, Ila, and Bharati. And they sometimes Bharati is actually the patron goddess of the Bharata kings. Something like in Kerala or in most of the places they have Kula Devatas. So Bharati is the Kula Devata of the Bharata kings. Ila is their ancestor, the most oldest ancestor. All the Chandravamsha kings considered Ila, the daughter of Manu, their ancestor. So that ancestor is worshipped. And Saraswati is the place where the river which is deified as a goddess. That is the cradle of the civilization. Saraswati is the place where all the kings originated. So these three, that their ancestor river as a goddess, that is Saraswati, their ancestress, the most ancient grandmother, Ila, is considered as a goddess, and their Kula Devata, that is Bharati. These three goddesses are worshipped repeatedly in every Aprisukta. And this is also very clearly tell to anybody not familiar with Rigveda that Rigveda is very much focused on goddess worship as well, because three goddesses are very important and prominent in Rigveda. Every Aprisukta will repeat rigs, that is stanzas dedicated to these three goddesses. So this is also another important aspect of the this particular session. And then I think I have covered everything, and we can maybe have some discussion and then conclude. Thank you.
Hi, sir. Thank you for a great lecture. I just had one question, sir, that about the Aprisukta. One is that how do we know, sitting here today in today's society, that the Aprisukta was very important that time? I mean, what?
Yeah, I can explain, because Rigveda is the oldest text. And after that, we have Yajurveda and Samaveda, Atharvaveda, and then there is a big tradition of Brahmanas and Aranyikas. And of course, Upanishads is also there, but it's completely philosophical. But the ritual part of things are captured in Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvaveda, and the Brahmanas and the Aranyikas. So these they have a kind of recollection of Ṛgvedic practices, and there it is clearly mentioned about the importance of the Aprisukta, like that.
And also another question that came to my mind about Aprisukta was that all the all the different Gotras, they all are having these three only goddesses. So yes, that means they must be, does that mean that they're all a part of one geographical area? And yes, secondly, yes, are they the names of rivers and not goddesses, or places that where they are staying? And maybe something from that.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct. And this is also another point going against the Aryan invasion theory, is that these Gotras are now spread all over India, right? So you can see Agasthyas or Vasishtas or Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra Gotra is completely slightly disappeared, but still there are people associating with Vishwamitra Gotra, Gautamas or Angirasas or Bharadwaj. All these Gotras are all everywhere. But all these Gotras, because in the Aprisukta very clearly describe three goddesses, Saraswati, Ila, and Bharati. That means they have a kind of in ancient period, they had a very common geography from which they originated. And that region, in subsequent chapters or sessions, it will be clear. It is the Saraswati region, Saraswati riverbank in Haryana, basically. Because today we have three places also corresponding to three goddesses, three places also there in Haryana. One is the Saraswati river itself. So the goddess Saraswati is represented by the Saraswati river flowing through the Kurukshetra. somewhere to the west of northwest of Kurukshetra, the river is flowing. And very close to the river Saraswati, there is a location called Ilaspada, which is actually the sacred spot of goddess Ila. And then not very far away from that, slightly towards the east, there is a Bharati Tirtha. Bharati, the place where that Kuladevata Bharati was consecrated. It is still part of the pilgrim circuit in the Haryana region. All these regions are within something like a 50 kilometer radius. All these three places are there. Very close to Kaital, the city of Kaital today in the
That means that all our ancient rishis were actually all part of one geographical area in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then they migrated.
They were all in the 100 kilometer radius of that region. And so for various, for some various religious purposes, even if they are little spread out, they will come back into the same location. And this is not a very big revelation, because that is the reason why the Kurukshetra is considered as a very sacred place. Even to die there is a guarantee that you go to heaven. That is why the Kurukshetra war is fought there. If you look at, like, for example, in the Kurukshetra war, Hastinapura is in Uttar Pradesh, and Pandavas were camped in the Matsya territory, that is in Rajasthan, northern Rajasthan. They all went to Kurukshetra to fight. There is no, otherwise, if there is no sacredness to Kurukshetra, they can just clash each other somewhere in the Rajasthan UP border. Why to go to Kurukshetra? Because they have very significant significance to the Kurukshetra region.
Right, sir. And I'm sorry I'm taking time. Just two more questions because they boggle my mind. One is that does Apri Sukta have any mention of animal sacrifices?
Excuse me. Sir, can you please elaborate again on this point, this Haryana region and Kurukshetra and its significance? Means the third one was not clear to me. The third...
Bharati.
Yeah.
Yes. The first person, do we have any other questions?
Yes, the one is about animal sacrifices, and the second and last on Apri Sukta is the mention of Apri Sukta there in any other literature other than these mandalas and Ṛgvedic?
Yeah, I'll mention it. So the first about I'll just elaborate on the three places. The three places in Kurukshetra corresponding to the Apri Sukta. That is three goddesses Saraswati, Ila, and Bharati. We have similarly corresponding three sacred spots in Kurukshetra. One is on the river Saraswati itself, where the river Saraswati herself is worshipped as a goddess on the river Saraswati itself. Another is Ilaspada, location which is slightly offset from the Saraswati river, but within the 50 kilometer radius. And then little more slightly to the eastern side, there is a Bharati Tirtha. So the three sacred locations corresponding to three goddesses worshipped in the Apri Sukta are located on the banks of Saraswati in the Haryana district of, in the Kurukshetra district of Haryana. So all of them fall within a district of Haryana state. That is the significance. So this is also indicates, because of these three goddesses worshipped in the Apri Sukta and their geographical locations are confining within a district, Kurukshetra district of Haryana. Now we have a very clear indication about their ancestral location as ancestral homeland of the Ṛgvedic people as the Haryana Kurukshetra region. That much clarity we have. And second question, I have because of the Apri Suktas are associated with animal sacrifices. So this is maybe a kind of a surprise because many people think that our ancient civilization is completely not connected with completely vegetarian, etc. But it's not completely true. So we have Apri Suktas, along with the Apri Sukta recitation, we have some animal sacrifices involved. That is there. And second question is there any references? Yes. So the subsequent literature of Ṛgveda, like for example, the associated Brahmanas and Aranyakas, they mentioned about this kind of the Apri Sukta as well as the rituals associated with it. two ways there this is recorded actually. And the Gotra related activities, rituals in that it's the entire recitation as well as the rituals associated with all mentioned in the subsequent literature. That is, there are literature associated with Rigveda like the Rigveda associated Brahmanas and Aranyakas. Similarly, Yajurveda associated Brahmanas, Aranyakas, etc. So in that literature, this is like referred. This information is referred. And yeah, and one more point about this Aprisutta, goddesses and animal sacrifices. You can actually see some connection with the Shaktaya tradition here. So this is again, for example, in Shaktaya tradition, the animal sacrifices are very prominent. And many people think that the Shaktaya tradition have nothing to do with the Ṛgvedic tradition. So all these concepts are broken down here because of this. Because there is a very clear link of goddess worship in Ṛgveda and associated rituals, and which is like similarly you can see in the Shaktaya worship as well. So these are all you can clearly see in the this particular Aprisuttas.
Okay,
So
sir,
that way it's very much connected and very much in a synchronous, harmonious state.
Yeah, I have a question regarding this Manu.
Yeah.
You mentioned in the pre-Ṛgvedic period when we were talking about ancient kings and the rishis also.
Yeah.
You spoke about Manu.
Yeah.
And I also see Manu name appearing in the 10th mandala, closer to the 10th mandala.
You're referring to the verses?
No, I'm referring to the Manu as the poet in the chart, poet chart also. And you spoke about Manu being available in the pre-Vedic, that is even before 6th mandala. And I also see Manu here. So and I know the name can always repeat because people do adopt their ancestors' name in their family.
Yeah.
The question that I had is Manu Smriti belongs to this 10th mandala Manu, or is it the ancient Manu?
Yeah. So in the 10th mandala, a lot of composer names are repeated. So Rishi name and Manu is a very popular name.
Yeah.
So because it has been repeating not only in the Ṛgveda but even in the subsequent stages, like even post Ṛgvedic, post Aitihasic period, there are individuals with the name Manu.
Yeah, all Itihasa Puranas has reference to Manu.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So Manu Smriti, like for example, I have currently my detailed focus on the Ṛgveda and the two Itihasas, but definitely I have gone through some amount of literature on the Manu Smriti, and based on the references mentioned in the Manu Smriti, it is the dating I have considered. I mean, not only my dating but many other researchers. It's a 4th mandala footprint are seen. I mean, it's 4th century footprints are seen in that. Like Gupta age footprints are seen in that. So that Manu Smriti's Manu will be somewhere living in the Gupta period in the 4th century CE. Means 4th century means it's only 1600 years older than our generation.
Oh, so it's even beyond 10th mandala.
Even beyond 10th mandala, even beyond the two Itihasas. Because Manu Smriti, what we do is in the Manu Smriti, we look at the names of places mentioned or some references to anything related to Guptas. The Gupta period means the golden days were in the 4th century CE and they declined by 6th century CE. And some of the earliest Gupta kings, like you can have in 3rd century. So the golden period is on 4th century CE. There are certain characteristics or footprints. If they are found in some Puranas, we will be able to date those portions in the Puranas as a Gupta period. That we have to map it as a Gupta period. So that way, when you look at majority of the timestamps in the Manu Smriti are in the 4th century CE and Gupta, like a Gupta period.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, this is something offbeat from what we are discussing. So when you're saying that most of the rishis originated from this area around Haryana, which is kind of like near about Himalayan range, isn't it? Lower Himalayan and upper Himalayan range. Are you saying the same?
Yes, Kurukshetra is somewhat in the northern part of the Haryana. And the northern boundary of the Kurukshetra is the southern foothills of the Himalayan mountains.
So, so formation of Himalayan fold mountains is after Pangaea, right?
Yeah, see, these are all like whatever is happening has nothing to do with the geological formation of the mountains, etc. These are all happened. The geological formation of Himalayan mountains or the plate, India plate hitting on the Asia plate, all these have happened many like many 100,000 years ago, and none of these are connected with the Rigveda, because we are mentioning about the early Rigvedic period. I mentioned 3,300 BC, right? Starting period. So Manu, like for example, Manu can be like, for example, because of various reasons, around 8th millennium BC onwards, anytime Manu can be, the historical Manu can be dated. And just like I mentioned about Angirasa, right? Angirasa and Pradhu. When you go many thousands of years in the past, the individuality is more or less lost. So when you say Manu, mostly it is you have to consider that it's like a representation of a group of people. So that is what is meaning of Manu migrating from the ocean, and then there was a flood, and he migrated from the ocean, moving northward, and then established a location on the Himalayas. Now this Navabandha, like that. So that's all happened in the northern part of the Kurukshetra. And it is, see, because when the Puranas narrated like that, basically they have absorbed a large number of migration activities into a single individual. So it will be not Manu means it will be like not large number of people migrating for maybe some 100 or 200 generation of migration. And then they finally reach the Himalayan foothills and establish their some kind of a habitation there. This entire history will get connected to a single individual Manu, because that is how this ancient period, all the individuals are like that. So what you see in the Puranas as an individual can also be a group of people, activity of a group of people for 100 or 200 years. So that is the story of Manu, and it is more or less around 8,000 BC, and that is the time onwards we got archaeological records in Haryana. Birana, which is a kind of oldest archaeological site currently in the Haryana region. It is around 7,990 BC, some 10 years out of 8,000 BC. And these are all connecting up with this the dating of Manu at 8,000 or 7,000 BC.
Okay, thank you, sir. And then another question is that in according to Puranas, most of Pandavas and Kauravas are lineage from Vyasas, Brahmanas. But they are considered Kshatriyas. So at that time, the Varna distribution was made on functional level and not at birth level.
Yes. So I mentioned like the early Ṛgvedic and middle Ṛgvedic period, they were Varnaless societies. The concept of Varna was not emerged. But in the late Ṛgvedic period, that is the 10th mandala, etc., and the late Ṛgvedic period, and the end of the late Ṛgvedic period is the 10th mandala. And we have Sri Rama, our dating of Sri Rama is in the 10th mandala period. Shantanu is in the 10th mandala period. And Pandavas were slightly in the around 50 to 75 years later than the Rama or Shantanu. So they are little more deeper into a period of Varna system. The late Ṛgvedic period, Varna system already originated. There were 4 Varnas. People were started living based on their occupation. So Rajas or Kshatriyas will be fighting, Brahmanas will be like philosophers, Vaishyas as this agriculture and earning wealth, and Shudras as artisans, all kinds of artisan work, etc. So that is that kind of division already emerged by the 10th mandala period. And then it's there were, even after emergence of the 4 Varnas, there were many stages into that. Initially, there was in the early stage when the Pandavas did, that was not a very extremely rigid or no, it's not a watertight kind of a situation. So that is what we are seeing in the Vyasa interaction of Vyasa with Satyavati, etc. So I am writing a third book on the Mahabharata. I have very clearly shown the lineage of Vyasa as well as Satyavati. They have a kind of a connection with the Uparichara Vasu, who is again a mapped as a Kshatriya. So there is the lineage of Vyasa or Satyavati. They are not pure. See, Vyasa is not pure Brahmana, or Satyavati is not a pure fisherwoman. Both have a Kshatriya kind of a admixture even before their itself. So it is kind of a, you can say, when the marriage of Parashara and Satyavati and giving birth to Vyasa, it's that time. So there was no kind of a very strong objection to that kind of a marriage, etc. So that's because it's not very strict. Like the strictness came after the Kurukshetra war period. In subsequent periods, it became even more rigid, actually.
Sir, I have also read one interpretation that during the period of the 10th mandala, particularly during the Mahabharata period and those periods, the varnas were more aligned to mother's varna than it was more matriarchal than patriarchal. And that is why Satyavati was part of the kingdom. She was a queen. And hence her children were considered, though Vyasa was the father of those children technically, but because the children were from the king family, they were considered as Kshatriya because it was matriarchal.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, adoption of daughter was very common. Kunti is a classic example. She was herself an adopted daughter because lineage was determined from the daughter, not from the son.
Yeah, but I have not seen that anywhere referenceable or traceable into the literature. The very important reason why the Vyasa's sons were considered as Kshatriyas, that rules are very clear. I have mentioned it in my second book, the Geography of Ramayana. There is a very clear rule. Like, for example, the two rules are active here. The rule of Niyoga, that is, they are considered as Chitravirya's wives. They needed children. So irrespective of who is fathering them, they have to be considered as Vichitravirya's children, and that's why by default they are Kshatriyas. That is one rule. Second rule, there is another rule wherein a Brahmana, when have a Kshatriya wife, their children are Kshatriyas. So there are multiple rules in play here. So there are no such confusions of why they are the Vyasa's children, that is Dhritarashtra and Pandu, are considered as Kshatriyas. There are no confusion because I have already addressed that in my second book, and it's coming very clearly. So since that is not part of our current Ṛgvedic discussion, so I think we can take it subsequently.
Thank you.
Even my two other books have very clearly explained the rules that is in play here.
Sorry, sir. Just one last thing. Why no Apni Sukta for fourth mandala and the other mandalas?
Here, which one? The Apri Sukta, right? Yeah, it's not a mandala wise. The Apri Suktas are not mandala wise. That is one reason. And this particular table I have mentioned, it's not a complete list of Apri Suktas. It's only because the Bharata Suktas I have not put it. And what I do is, in the next session, I will give a little more detail with a list of the Apri Suktas, including the Bharatas, etc.
That's good, sir. Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah, I hope with that note, shall we then conclude, sir?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We hope to see you next week also. Continue learning. So let's all wind up the session with a Shanti Mantra. Om Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.